Okay, so today is day 59 housed, and today is Monday, October the 13th, 2025. And so this is the third video. So I just was doing a recount of a recap, pardon me, of Thanksgiving dinner yesterday at my parents' house. And I want to be very frank and very honest and very transparent. And the first two videos just happened to talk about my mind frame and my spiritual state before I arrived at my parents' house, and it's very key. It's very important. And but anyways, without further ado, I'll just give an overview of like what took place, and then I'll just talk about these things candidly. And we'll take as many videos as needed, and I'll be as expressive as possible. And I think this is quite wonderful. It's a lot to learn from and a lot to grow from, and it's great to get these things out from within you, so that you can actually see them. And once you can see them, it's kind of like journalizing or putting your thoughts on paper. Oftentimes, we don't really realize the impact that a situation has had on us until we get what is within us, outside of us, and then we realize, oh, I was a lot more, much more emotionally charged about this and felt much deeper about this than I initially realized. And then maybe sometime later we receive healing, and then we can revisit that same event and talk about it. And then we realize, oh goodness, I feel very uh, settled compared to the way I felt before. So a change has occurred within me, and that change within me has now, it's kind of like a lens. It's like I see things through a lens that is not as translucent, per se, as it was before. Perhaps it was opaque in the past as well. I mean, you couldn't see through it. But anyways, you realize like that internal change changes everything and even your perception. So when I arrived, I basically just went in the, oh, I was offered some food, but it was more or less like it's very strange. Like I'm treated as kind of like a very distant family member. So I'm treated as somebody who's unknown but relatively familiar. And so my father was making some food. I can't remember what he was making. He was in the kitchen though. And then, but my mother was very like it's very strange. Like she said, "Here, just make. Like, if are you hungry?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Just have a sandwich." She's like, "There's bologna in the fridge." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful, thank you." And I said, "Would you mind if I had like some onions and some lettuce? I love having like onions and lettuce on my sandwich." And she said, "No." And she's really firm and really aggressive, and it's just strange, very very strange. So, but these things are common. And I find like she doesn't seem to have. She's very volatile with her emotions behind closed doors, but she can definitely control those emotions because I see her around her friends and around the people at church and around her friends, like her peer group, and she doesn't reveal this side to them. So it's a side that's reserved only behind closed doors, which you know reveals hypocrisy. Uh, it's important that we're always as a for me as a follower of Jesus Christ, that I desire the truth. It's important that I'm always the same. So I treat everybody the exact same because inside of me I'm always pulling from the same source. There's no partiality within me. So anyway, so she does have partiality. So then my father picked up on that, and he just seemed puzzled because that just seemed like a really weird thing to be stringent on. And then I'm not sure if he brought out the onions or she brought out the onions, but anyways, I had onions on my sandwich. It wasn't really a big deal either way, but these are little skirmishes that are highly noted, and they're strange, but they're common. Okay, and these are patterns of behavior I will not repeat. I see them for like what they are. We'll talk more in detail about that after. Uh, but it was noted that she was very um, stressed out, and she gets very, very stressed out when she puts on a meal. She gets very, very stressed out when she entertains, and she can become very spasmodic. And that's probably a terrible word. Let's see. Um, Goodness, it's early in the morning, so I'm struggling to get my thoughts out here. Um, Jamie, very disagreeable. Maybe that's a better word. And anyway, so I just had a bologna sandwich. I thanked her, and then I went. I just ate by myself at the upstairs kitchen table. My father ate downstairs. So that's a custom in their house. Is we don't spend family time together. So even growing up, my father like during dinner, my father eats dinner downstairs watching TV. My mother um, usually eats dinner in her room, and then I would eat dinner like by myself at the table. So this is something, and I guess I'm going to pause here. So maybe this will be the format that we'll use. Is I'll pause as I go through these things, as I find anything that might be of relevance or importance. But I've noticed this. Well, first and foremost, this is isolating, and it's an expression, or it reveals a disconnect, an internal disconnect, and this is something I find many people do not seem to take note of, or if they do take note of it, they don't see it for how serious it really is and how influential it can be. And so you're going to note in the planes and people watching manuscript, there's a moment when I'm at the airport, as was at the uh, was it YQG, your quick gateway, so the airport in Windsor, and we're people watching, and I take note of the it was the first mother and daughter, and I said like they're together physically, but they're not together spiritually or emotionally. Like there's a major disconnect between them. It's really easy for me to observe because I'm aware of this reality uh, within my own household. It's a reality that I wish didn't exist. And if or when I'm blessed to have children, then this is something that I'm going to ensure that I don't repeat that patternized behavior. And part of not repeating the patternized behavior is seeing the spiritual root that causes these things in others. So then it's not enough just to identify like the negative fruit, but I have to see the root. So that root is if there's any of those roots in my own heart, they need to be pulled out and removed so I don't continue that behavior unbeknownst to myself. Okay. So, um, and there's something I noted too with a friend. He's invited me out for tea quite often. A really lovely young man, and he keeps talking about how he desires a wife. And I've noted that he just over the past like 3 or 4 months, he has become more attached to his phone. I think he actually just learned that he has data on his phone, and but I've noted that when we're out, he'll just periodically pick up his phone and start looking at it. And he doesn't realize how much that disconnects him to the people that he's with. And like for me, I make good practice to keep my phone, in my pocket or in my computer bag, or like to not have it on me and to not have it open in front of me. Otherwise, why am I there around people just to do something that I should be doing in the privacy of my own home? And but there's a major disconnect that comes from it, and it can become an addiction where you're neglecting the people around you because you're addicted to something that you might in your mind think is harmless, but it's extremely harmful. So anyway, uh, yeah, so I ate alone. This is something that I'm used to. It's normal, it's normative, but it shouldn't be. It is terrible and it's wrong, and I just won't repeat these behaviors. But I can also still love and respect the others.